The hum was the first and last thing Caelan noticed about his day. Not the engineered birdsong in the verdant arcologies, or the curated rush of the waterfalls, but the deep, resonant thrum of the city itself. It was the sound of 1,000,000 tons of water being pumped, purified, and circulated. The sound of air scrubbers tirelessly filtering out the thin, deadly Martian atmosphere. To the elite in their sun-drenched domes, it was unnoticed background noise. To Caelan, a life support technician from the gray zones, it was the planet's heartbeat. And today, it was arrhythmic. His wrist-mounted diagnostic tool buzzed with a low-priority alert. Flow variance, Sector 7 Gamma, Waterfall Manifold 3. Up in the arcologies, this would mean a call to the lead hydrologist. Down in the veins, the network of cramped service tunnels that were the city's true arteries, it meant Caelan had to get his hands dirty. He sealed the helmet of his worn work rig and squeezed into the maintenance shaft behind the rock face. Here, the illusion of paradise vanished. The air smelled of ozone and wet metal. The walls were bare plasteel and exposed bedrock, laced with color-coded conduits. The sound of the waterfall was a deafening, percussive roar on the other side of the rock. The manifold was a knot of massive pipes and pressure valves. According to the sensors, it was just a minor fluctuation, but Caelan had spent 15 years listening to the city's hum. He placed a hand on the primary intake pipe, feeling the vibrations through his glove. It wasn't just fluctuating, it was shuddering. A deep, harmonic tremor that wasn't on any diagnostic screen. He flagged it in his report, adding a detailed note. Subharmonic resonance detected in manifold 3. Recommend immediate system shutdown for physical inspection. Potential for stress fracture. An hour later, a reply came back from the Arcology Control Center, signed by Dr. Aris, the sector's lead scientist. Technician, your sensor logs show no such resonance. The flow variance is within acceptable parameters. Recalibrate your haptic sensors and stick to your assigned maintenance schedule. He stared at the message. Recalibrate his sensors. It was the polite corporate way of calling him an idiot. Aris, for all her brilliance with gene sequencing, wouldn't know a stress fracture from a nutrient paste sandwich. She saw the city as a series of data points on a screen. Caelan knew it as a living, breathing, and deeply flawed machine. He tried to let it go. It wasn't his job to override a product scientist. But the phantom shudder in the city's hum haunted him for the rest of his shift. The main alarm blared just after he'd returned to the gray zone barracks. A piercing, citywide emergency klaxon that cut through the monotonous drone of the residential block. Caelan's screen lit up with red alerts. Catastrophic pressure failure, Sector 7 Gamma, containment protocols engaged. Aris had been wrong. He didn't wait for orders. He grabbed his heavy toolkit and ran, pushing through crowds of panicked gray zoners being herded toward emergency shelters. He knew the official response: seal the sector, let the pressure vent, and calculate the cost later. But he also knew the manifold. A full pressure vent would collapse half the rock face, flood the lower veins, and poison the entire sector's water supply for weeks. Back in the service tunnel, the roar was gone, replaced by the terrifying hiss of high-pressure spray. The air was thick with a blinding white mist. His helmet display showed a spider web of red cracks spreading across the main valve housing. The harmonic shutter had shaken it to pieces. The automated system was trying to shut it down, but the damaged valve was stuck open. The only way to stop it was a manual override, a 3-ton crank wheel that hadn't been turned in 50 years. Protocol demanded 2 technicians and a supervisor's remote authorization. Caelan was alone, and the network was down. He locked his boots into the deck plating and grabbed the massive wheel and pulled. The metal groaned in protest. Every muscle in his back and shoulders screamed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a screech of tortured metal, it began to move. Centimeter by agonizing centimeter, he forced the wheel to turn, his breath fogging the inside of his helmet. The hiss of escaping water began to subside, the pressure dropping with each turn. Finally, with a deep, shuddering thunk, the valve sealed. Silence. The only sound was his own ragged breathing. He slumped against the pipe, exhausted. He had broken a dozen regulations. In the morning, there'd be an inquiry. Dr. Aris would probably find a way to blame the failure on a faulty component he was supposed to have maintained. He wouldn't get a medal. He wouldn't even get a thank you. But as he sat there, in the quiet, dripping dark of the city's guts, he placed his hand back on the pipe. The deep, steady hum of the world had returned. It was a clean, healthy rhythm. And for a man like Caelan, that was payment enough.